You just need to have a seat here in the courtroom. Probation is going to call you up to her desk when she's ready to go for your paperwork. Good morning. Are you Isaiah Brown?
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Brown was previously here and entered a plea of guilty in cause number 25 DCCR 0356. And I've received the pre-sentence report. Has everyone had an opportunity to review the report?
Yes, Sharon.
On behalf of Ms. French, Your Honor, both she and I have reviewed the PSI. I do have, as the court may already have, a question about his version or
Yep.
acceptance of responsibility as reflected on page 1 at the very bottom.
Yes, sir.
And aside from that as well, Judge, I can certainly understand why the court would want to renew some type of scrutiny. I didn't negotiate the plea agreement in this case, Judge, and it's the facts. And I can understand if the court may scrutinize this.
And just for the record, Ms. French did call me last week in regards to the PSI. Prior to Ms. French being on the case, we reviewed this thoroughly with the previous prosecutor. We watched the videos together. And there was also issues in obviously contacting complainant. So that had
I'm okay with that right now. I think what I want to do before I go forward, though, Mr. Brown, if I test you, you're going to have anything in your system? Okay, let's double check that before we go forward. Have a seat in the jury box.
and he does their drug patch.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
good. Sure.
And he recently he's back on his psych medications.
Okay.
So I don't know if y'all need, but he is back on.
He can let him know whatever he's on.
Okay.
The main thing I want to test for is marijuana.
Yes,
That was
ma'am.
the issue before, so let's make sure that that's good. All right, Mr. Brown, you tested negative. So any reason not to go forward with sentencing at this time?
No, Judge.
No, you're.
And Mr. Brown, I don't disagree with Mr. Coleman's assessment of kind of what happened that day. It did not go exactly like you said, or it doesn't sound like it went exactly like you're talking about, according to the police and according to some videos that supposedly are out there. I'm going to go along with the plea agreement, but obviously this is very concerning about what happened, and you leaving the baby and not knowing if she was there. And I mean, you don't leave a baby on the doorstep.
Yes, ma'am.
And you can be as mad at her for whatever's going on in y'all's life as you want to be, but that doesn't mean you can do this. And it also doesn't mean that you can be upset with me for having an issue with what went on. Right? Okay. So I'm going to find that you previously entered your plea of guilty freely and voluntarily. Find sufficient evidence to find you guilty. However, I'm going to follow the agreement that you made with the district attorney. Defer all proceedings and place you on probation for 3 years. You're ordered to pay the $300 fine and to follow all of the rules and conditions of probation. If you do that, this is a great opportunity because you don't have a felony conviction on your record. You successfully complete the probation, the case will be dismissed at the end. You'll never have the felony conviction. The other side of that is if you violate any condition of probation, you can be brought back into court and you can be found guilty and sent to the state jail prison for anywhere between 6 months and up to 2 years. Do you understand? It's very important that I can tell you are somewhat, I'm not sure of the right word, but you don't necessarily like what's going on. And I feel like you think that there's some blame maybe on some other person. Let me just tell you, if you have the same attitude that I see now, that with probation, you're not going to go very far with probation. You're going to be right back in here and you're going to be going to prison. It's that simple. So you pled guilty, whatever led up to it that day, you did it. Maybe not to the extent they're saying, but you did it. You left the child. She wasn't there, period. Whatever happened before or after doesn't matter. So do your probation. Be respectful to probation, follow the rules, whether you want to or not, and you'll be great. But if not, you're going to be right back in here. Understand? I'm handing you the trial court certification that shows this was an agreement that I followed, and so you've waived your right to appeal. You need to have a seat here in the courtroom. Probation will call you up when she's ready to go over your paperwork.
She's pretty important.
All right, sir, you're Ryan Hodge. This is 24 DCCR 1167. Mr. Hodge was previously in court, entered a plea of guilty to evading arrest or detention with the use of a motor vehicle, pled true to prior offenses, making this for punishment purposes a habitual offender punishment. The agreement was for a 10-year deferred probation, $500 fine. I've received the pre-sentence report. Has everyone had an opportunity to review that report?
Yes, Judge. I have. Defense has, Your Honor.
Any additions or corrections?
No, from the defense.
Not mistake.
And again, the agreement was he pled true to those.
Listen carefully to what the judge just said. Once this habitual offender violates probation, the bargaining is over. There are no last-minute plea deals, no reduced sentence negotiations. The law takes control, and a minimum of 25 years is on the table. That's exactly why this warning carries so much weight inside the courtroom.
Offenses, so that if you violate this probation, the minimum punishment if you are violated and you get found guilty would be 25 years. Do you understand? There's no negotiations at that point. That is by law what the minimum will be. Okay. Your criminal history does not make me feel very good about you being successful on this probation. But if you've changed your life, this is going to be your opportunity. If you haven't, you're going to have a minimum 25. It's that simple, right? So I'm going to find that you entered your plea of guilty freely and voluntarily. Find sufficient evidence to find you guilty. However, I'm going to follow the agreement that you made with the district attorney and defer all proceedings and place you on probation for 10 years. You're ordered to pay the $500 fine and to follow all of the rules and conditions of probation. Obviously, you understand what a good opportunity this is if you are successful and you complete the probation. The other side, again, is if you violate any condition of probation, you'll be back in here. You'll have the conviction. You've already pled true to the prior offenses. And
The judge isn't trying to scare the defendant. She's making sure there's absolutely no misunderstanding. A probation violation here doesn't just mean another court date. It could mean spending decades behind bars. That's why judges often repeat these consequences multiple times later on. Nobody can claim they didn't understand what was at stake.
You'll end up with at least a 25-year sentence up to the rest of your life. It is important. You're going to be on the high medium caseload, at least at the beginning of your probation, and that's intended to help you, not hinder you. But we want to make sure you have everything that you need in order to be successful.
I think you live out of county?
Yeah, I live in Oklahoma. I have a great support system. I have another job.
They'll talk. You need to talk to probation about where you live, and they'll get it transferred to where you live. You just have to go through the proper process to get that taken care of.
A high medium caseload, whatever.
Yeah, whatever stipulations I can follow.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone has some type of more intensive probation, and that's what I'm going to order, whatever it's called in whatever county or state. There will be a substance abuse assessment done. If there's anything in the assessment that's done that shows that you need any type of treatment, you will be required to do that. Anything else that probation says, you're required to do it. I'm handing you the trial court certification that shows that this was an agreement that I followed, and so you waived your right to appeal. You need to have a seat here in the courtroom. Probation is going to call you up when she's ready to go over your paper. Good morning. You're Allison Strong. And Ms. Strong was previously in court, entered a plea of guilty to assault on a peace officer. I've received that pre-sentence report. Has everyone had an opportunity to review the report?
I have, Your Honor. I have, Your Honor.
Are there any additions or corrections?
And then the way, Judge. And I'm abstaining.
All right, Ms. Strong, I'm going to find that you previously entered your plea of guilty freely and voluntarily. Find sufficient evidence to find you guilty. However, I'm going to follow the agreement that you made with the district attorney and defer all proceedings and place you on probation for 3 years. You're ordered to follow all of the rules and conditions of probation, including you will be on the mental health caseload so you can get whatever type of help necessary so that you can be successful on your probation. It's important that you follow all of the rules and conditions through the mental health caseload, through regular probation. If you do everything you're supposed to on this probation, it's a great opportunity because you don't have a felony conviction on your record. And at the end of the probation, if you're successful, the case is dismissed and you'll never have a felony conviction. The other side of that, though, is if you violate any condition of probation, you can be brought back into court, found guilty, so you become a convicted felon, and you could go to prison for anywhere in that punishment range, which is between 2 years and up to 20 years in prison. Do you understand? Yes. All right. I'm handing you the trial court certification that shows that this was an agreement that I followed, and so you've waived your right to appeal. If you'll just have a seat here in the courtroom, watch for probation. She's going to call you up when she's ready to go over your paperwork. And Mr. Broussard was previously in court and cause number 25 DCCR 1442, entered a plea of guilty to aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. I've received the pre-sentence report. Has everyone had an opportunity to review that report?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor, I have.
Any additions or corrections?
Not from the defense, Your Honor.
Not from the state, Judge.
Notice how quickly the judge focuses on one issue. Accountability courts can work with people who admit their mistakes, but blaming everyone else raises red flags. Judges often look beyond the crime itself and evaluate whether a defendant truly accepts responsibility. That mindset can make a major difference in how successful probation ultimately becomes.
Yes, I have a little concern because Mr. Broussard, you stated this was all just a setup, which makes me a little concerned that you're not taking responsibility for your part in what you pled guilty to. And so it's important, obviously, if you pled guilty, I asked you some specific questions. If you're pleading guilty freely and voluntarily, and if you plead guilty because you did what they charged you with.
Yes,
So did you do what they charged you with?
yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any reason not to go forward?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor. All right, then at this time, I'm going to find, Mr. Broussard, that you entered your plea of guilty previously, freely, and voluntarily. Find sufficient evidence to find you guilty. However, I'm going to follow the agreement that you made with the district attorney and defer all proceedings and place you on probation for 5 years. You're ordered to pay the $500 fine and to follow all of the rules and conditions of probation. If you do that, this is an excellent opportunity because you do not have a felony conviction.
And once again, the courtroom ends with the same powerful message. Probation is an opportunity, not a guarantee. Every defendant today walks out with hope, but also with strict conditions that must be followed. Which case surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments, because every one of these decisions carries life-changing consequences.
On your record. And if you successfully complete the probation, at the end, the case is actually dismissed and you'll never have a felony conviction in your record. The other side of that, though, is if you violate any condition of probation, you can be brought back into court, found guilty of the offense, and sentenced anywhere in the range of punishment, which is between 2 years and up to 20 years. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to hand you the trial court certification that shows this was an agreement that I followed, and so you've waived your right to appeal. You just need to have a seat here in the courtroom. Probation's going to call you up to her desk when she's ready to go for your paperwork. All right, good luck to you.